episode 5 of Brew Bandits. We are here in South Montreal, aka almost the Canadian border. How far north are we? Is this?
We are a stone's throw, as you would say, or about 10 miles.
I took a pee in his backyard. I had Border Patrol coming up on me because they were looking for my passport. Anyways, we're here today at the Perry Brew House, and we're going to brew a Busy Guy IPA, which is one of Kevin's recipes. Very excited about this today.
I'm very excited about this.
Why do we call it Busy Guy?
Because we're busy people.
We're busy people.
That's it. That's all I'm going with that one.
That's all. That's all he's got there.
That's all I'm going with.
Well, you know what?
Okay.
And it's just an IPA. It's not a double. It's just a straight IPA. It's a good drinking beer.
American IPA.
American IPA and fruity. It's nice little beer to drink at any time.
Good session.
Any time of the year. As Kevin likes to say, good session beer.
Session IPA.
So.
What is?
And we're using some hops, apparently.
Cascade and Magnum. Cascade is a hop that is used a lot in a lot of different IPAs, especially American IPAs. It's a citrusy flavored or aroma hop that you can use both in the boil and for aroma. And the second hop that we're using is a Magnum hop. And the Magnum hop is a higher alpha acid hop that gives you a little bit more bittering flavor, which is kind of used in a lot of IPAs.
And today we're going to talk about a couple of different things, and we're going to dive into these topics a little bit more. One of them is batch sparging, which is a different kind of sparging than we've seen on the show here so far. And also we're going to talk about chilling the wort and the importance of the hot break and how to make sure it doesn't take off on you.
All right, so now what we're doing is we got our strike water up to temperature, about 170, because it's a cool April day out here right now. So we're running this off into our mash tun. And what we're doing is we're going to get this water in here, and that's when we're going to be adding the grains to this. And that's when we're going to let them sit for about an hour and be able to transform our starches into sugars, which then turns into alcohol for our brew, our Busy Guy IPA, American IPA style, right? Is that it? Is that what it is? Okay, so we're all done. This is empty now in here. We're gonna be putting it up here, put the grains in, and let it sit for about an hour and turn from, like I said, starches to sugars.
So now what we're doing is we're going to mash in here. So we've got the grains, we've got the cooler, water up to temperature. Kevin's got the paddle. And what we're going to do is I'm going to shake this in, and he's just going to make sure he breaks up any dough balls. We've covered mashing in other episodes. If you haven't seen mashing before, you can always go to our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/brewbandits, and there you can find the links to all the other videos where we cover a little bit more in depth this process. But you can see right now we've dumped the grains in, and he's going to stir it all up and get it all happy and hung out together.
And also, I'll explain a little bit what kinds of grains we got in here. We got 8 pounds of American 2-row malt. We have a pound of Victory malt, and we have a pound of Crystal 60 is in here. So we're going to let this sit for about an hour and go from there.
The two main types of sparging that you see in the all-grain brewery are batch and fly sparging. We've covered fly sparging in other episodes of Brew Bandits, and you can find those on the YouTube page via Facebook, facebook.com/brewbandits. Today we're going to talk about batch sparging. And basically the way batch sparging works is we take a bunch of hot water and we dump it right in the mash tun, roust it all up, drain it off, dump in a bunch more hot water. What we're trying to do is rinse the sugars that we've created off the grains. And that's what we're going to see here as we take a look at Kevin batch sparging right now. All right, now it's time to get our sparge on. And today, Kevin, what kind of sparging is the style that we're doing?
Batch sparging that we're doing right now. And what that means is we're gonna add, we got 5 gallons of water at 190 degrees right here. We're gonna add half of that to this, stir it all up, run it off, and then we're going to add the other 2.5 gallons of water in there, stir it up, and run it off. And hopefully we come close to our goal of
1060.
1060.
That's our target gravity.
Target gravity, yeah. So we'll see what happens.
All right.
We just add this water. It's at 190 degrees. What it's doing is it's stopping the conversion of starches to sugars at this point, and preserving some of the different types of proteins that we've created in here. And now we're going to put this back up on here. Grab the other side of that. Nope. Back up on here. What we're going to do is now we're going to Vorloff and set this grain bed.
And Vorloffing is what again?
Vorloff is just running off, basically. We talked about this in another episode of Brew Bandits, but Vorloffing is basically we're going to run off some liquid until we get it to run basically clear.
There we go.
And free of...
Because I'd forgotten.
Because I'd forgotten. So... So what we're doing right now is we're running off. We did our second batch sparge. We dumped the second volume of water onto the grain bed, Vorloffed, and now we're trying to get to our pre-boil volume, which we're going to say is probably about 6.25 gallons in this setup. This is a tight pot, so we're just trying to get up to almost to the top, so we got a little bit of headroom to boil. And
where we want to be, right about there.
Right about there. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to start the boil, and once we get up to temperature, get our first hop additions, and once the hop break happens, throw the hops in and, start cooking those sugars down and making them tasty.
So now we're getting past the hop break. We just had Kevin here on the gas. The rest of us are enjoying some lovely eats from the lady folk and the wags inside. As you can see, we got a nice rolling boil going. The hop and the rising up has stopped. It's nice and calmed down. This is where we're going to start hopping. And what are we starting with, Kev?
We're starting with 1 ounce of Cascade.
1 ounce of Cascade for how long?
60 minutes, and then it's going to be 30 minutes. We'll add another ounce of Magnum. The last 15 minutes, we'll add another ounce of Cascade, and then once this ferments, I'll add another ounce of Cascade for 7 days of dry hopping.
Excellent. So again, ounce of Cascade for 60 minutes, and we'll be back.
So it's important once you've boiled your wort that you get it down to a yeast pitchable temperature pretty quickly. You don't want that hanging out there because contaminants, all that kind of stuff. You want to pitch that yeast, you want to close it up, you want it sealed away from everything so it can get to work creating alcohol. And so we have to chill, and it's a big part of the brewing process, especially when you move to all grain. When you're doing extract brewing, you're not boiling a full volume of wort, and it's easier to do with just an ice bath. At this point, though, when we're talking about chilling 5 gallons of liquid, we need to do that quickly and efficiently. And there's 3 different ways to do it. There's a plate chiller, which is a series of stainless steel plates, and cold water is pumped through one section and the hot water is pumped through the other, and there's an exchange of heat between the cold water you're pumping through and the hot wort, and the cold water takes on the properties of the hot wort takes on the properties of the cold, comes out the other side. A counterflow chiller works the same way. A counterflow chiller is basically a long piece of hose with a smaller hose inside it. The smaller hose runs wort one way and cold water runs the other way, and they exchange heat. And then finally, the way that we're going to show you today is an immersion chiller. It's one of the easiest ways to chill your wort if you're getting into brewing at home, and it's basically copper coils. You run the cold water through one side, spins around through the coils, comes out the other side. We're going to take a look at that in action right now. So earlier in brew school, we talked about chilling, and what we have here is an immersion chiller. It's basically copper coils that are coiled around in circles that run clockwise or counterclockwise. Cold water will flow in via this tube. It'll go down through the wort, exchange, take the heat away from the wort that's in there, and then it'll run out this hose here, and this will run out to a collection system that Travis will be using to water his garden, because it's springtime. So this is called an immersion chiller, one of the 3 different types of chillers that people use. It is the least efficient compared to counterflow and plate chillers. However, it's also the easiest to just DIY yourself at home. So we've got this in here now. We've got about 10 minutes left in the boil. We've put it in so it sanitizes. Everything that happens once we shut this heat off, it's about cleanliness from that here on out.
Correct.
And so Kevin's sterilized his buckets. He's got everything going there. And
I'm going to put them over here. And
so in the meantime, pretty much our last this guy's great, isn't he? This guy's a big addition to the Brew Bandit team. We're going to do that.
And you don't need a fancy water collection thing if you want to repurpose the water. Literally, my water collection thing is my lawn, and then the hose is going to dump the water on my lawn.
In other cases.
And the water will then get to the garden somehow.
Get to the garden somehow. So in the meantime, this is going to boil like this for another few minutes, and then we're going to chill. So what we're doing now is we're taking the hot bag out of the boiling wort. We've had the immersion chiller in there because we've sterilized it at this point, and we're going to start chilling. So he's going to, once we kind of drain off this a little bit, there's the hops in there. Immersion chiller's in there. It's been sterilized because it's been a part of this boil for the last 10 minutes or so. And so what we're going to do now, Travis is going to turn on that water. And
you got the heat turned off, right, Mitch?
The heat is now turned off.
Last time we were trying to chill it while it was still heating the bottom.
That was a couple beers on that Brew Bandits. This one here, however, a little bit more on top of it. All right, so what's happened is Travis has turned on the water here, and you can, one of them's hot, and we're going to start kind of gently swirling this, and what it's going to do is it's going to counterflow heat exchange. So as the cold water runs in through this side, it's going to spiral down through the copper coils that are in here, and it's going to exchange heat with the wort, and we're going to start dropping temperature. This, boiling for liquid is 212 degrees, 211 degrees. We're already down to 187 here as this thing is moving. So as you can see, it pretty quickly moves the temperature down, and it's important to get the wort down to a pitching temperature as quickly as possible. It facilitates a couple of things. First of all, the protein coagulates will fall out of suspension in here the faster we can chill this. And then second, we'll be less exposed to contamination as the quicker we get it chilled down and put into our sanitized fermentation vessel.
Beer fact. The IPA traditionally is about 4% alcohol. Here in America, when we made the IPA, we put a little twist on it, cranked that thing up to 7.5% alcohol. That's the difference between American and usually your British IPAs. Beer facts.
Now we're going to take this out. We've reached our target temperature of 75 degrees. You can see the coils now on this chiller. This initially, when I first built this, was sized for 5-gallon batches, which is what we're doing today. But I actually added some coils to it to bring it up to big enough to chill 10-gallon batches. But it worked pretty quickly. That probably took us 5 minutes to chill this down with this. It's a lot of chiller for this size. So now we're going to get that out of the way. All right, so what Kevin's doing now is he's hooking up the hose. So we put the brew pod just on top of this old stove so that we'd have gravity to be able to pull it down. So as you can see, It's
The stove moved.
not level. Let's
Hold the stove.
hold the stove.
A couple of the legs came off the stove. I only moved it by myself.
One of the more dangerous scenes that I've been a part of recently.
Doesn't live here anymore. And
Fraught with technical difficulties today on the shooting of Brew Bandits. So what he's got there is, Travis is holding on to the pot and the stove to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. What he's going to do is he's going to run that liquid off. Now, it's important at this stage to aerate the wort. We just boiled it for an hour, and pretty much all the air that was in the wort has been taken out of it. And we need to put that air back in so the yeast, it's part of the yeast life cycle. They need oxygen as part of their growth so they can consume it. So he's going to splash, he's going to run at full speed and really splash it in there and let it just kind of splash around and foam up really big. In the meantime, also too, we're going to add the yeast. We're going to pitch the yeast at this point, which I'm going to do right now from this jug that we've got over here. And this is our yeast starter that Kevin put together a couple days ago. So I'm gonna swirl this all together and get this all into one happy liquid right now and get it all mixed up. This has been grown up, and so we're actually probably pitching a significant number of cells at this point. Grew this up nice and big. We're going to dump that in. Like this, I'm going to dump this yeast starter, this entire thing in here. This is all the yeast. That's going in the bucket, and we're splashing in there. You see he's kind of got the foaming up there. That's good. That means we're oxygenating the wort again, which is important. So we also at this point need to take a gravity reading. So I'm going to get that. That's good. What this will do is this will tell us what the specific gravity of the liquid is, and what that is, that's how many sugars we suspended in the water. And this is really a test. This is a test for us on how much alcohol we're going to potentially be able to convert. So I'm going to set this down here and just drop this hydrometer in here. It's going to float out. And looks like we're at about 1050. The target gravity on this beer was right about 1055, so we're right in the zone we had hoped to be in. We converted a lot of the sugars that we made. We converted a lot of the starches into sugars, and we were able to suspend them in this wort now. So this is basically the beer without alcohol. The yeast is going to eat the sugars that we created, and it's going to fart CO2 and pee alcohol, and before you know it, we'll have finished beer.
All right, so here it is, the finished product right here, the Busy Guy IPA. There's 5.5 gallons in this, in the fermenter, and we should be good in about 7 days. Is what we're going to be doing is then adding another ounce of Cascade hops to give it a little bit more aroma, and that's called dry hopping. I'm sure we've mentioned that in the show earlier already. So this is good to go. And
what we're hoping for here is, as to go back to the style characteristics of this thing, is we really want like citrus, citrusy, kind of fruity flavor, a little bit of a piney aroma, and that's indicative of the Cascade themselves, the Cascade hops. And that's what we're hoping to pick up through the dry hopping. At this point, the bitterness has been already established through the boil. The Magnum was our bittering hops in this point, which had a very high alpha acid. I think that was like 17.
It was well, actually 11.6.
11.6. Oh,
and the Cascades were at 6.4.
So we had those for bittering, and now all the dry hop is going to do, it's all aroma, it's all in your nose, it's all when you put your glass up like this, and what you smell, that's what we're going for at this point.
And this is actually the color of what it should be. This is a previous batch that I've already made. So
it's like on those cooking shows when they have a pie already made.
It's already the pie.
And they're like, we'll put this in for 2 hours, but previously we've brewed the beer.
Previously our helping staff did this.
So there you go. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about batch sparging today, and that was the first time for us. That was, like I said,
we've never done that before, so it was on the fly.
On the fly, but it's batch sparging, not to be confused with fly sparging, which is actually on the fly. So until next time, we're going to drink some beer. You can go to our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/brewbandits. You can find links to the recipes there. there, as well as all the YouTube clips, so you can watch the episodes. If you haven't seen an episode of the show before, go there. And real quick, just want to throw a quick shout out to our friends at Fiddlehead Brewing in Shelburne, who have been very kind. Matt down there, the brewer down there, has been very helpful lately, and we've certainly got a lot of an interesting relationship.
Very good people down there.
Very good people.
And it's our first quasi-sponsor of this program. So, on that note,
cheers.
Cheers.